Hello and welcome back to Healer Within. This is Amy Marohn, a host, hypnotist, and today we're going to be talking about career transitions after 50. And I've got a special guest with me today, Jeffry Denman. Welcome, Jeffry.
Thank you. The only problem is I'm only 32, so
Oh,
I think that might be
nice.
that might be.
If we hadn't grown up in the same hometown, I might
Oh, you're
believe
outing me.
you.
You're
I
outing me.
know, I know, completely. Nice one, though. I know it's really fun to try to get away with that,
Yeah.
whenever you can. Wonderful. Jeffry, I want to take this time to learn more about Jeffry Denman before the pandemic. Tell us about your life, your career, and anything else you want to sprinkle in there.
Yeah, grew up in Buffalo, well aware, and went to the University of Buffalo for musical theater training, mainly focused on dance. And then after a couple of after college jobs, I moved to New York City and pursued a career on Broadway, off Broadway, basically a theater professional career as a performer first. And then I moved into choreography and direction. Just whatever I could do to storytell in the theater was really what I wanted to do. I loved the theater. I feel as though my particular set of talents and gifts that I was blessed with really was modeled for a theatrical lifestyle and career. And I was very happy about the fact that I was accepted into the New York theater community. I was successful. I had a number of shows that I did on Broadway, a number of shows I did off Broadway, and then a whole host of shows that I did regionally around the country, which is really how an actor in the United States makes their living. You hope to do some Broadway shows. You certainly hope to do some off Broadway, and then you are most likely going to be doing a whole host of regional theater gigs all across. So that's exactly what I was doing, and I loved it. It certainly brought with it ups and downs. The highs were very high and the lows were very low. The Broadway community is a wonderful community and the theater community is a wonderful community, but there are very limited jobs, so you are always fighting for the next gig. Unless you can get to that 1%. And even then, and I know some friends who were in the 1%, and they were even scratching and clawing for jobs. The pandemic hit. And my then girlfriend at the time, now wife, Sophie, she and I got out of New York for health reasons during the pandemic, pretty soon after things started to go bad. And that opened up the door to us thinking about where else we could live.
Yeah.
Could I do theater in other cities? Could she do her career? She's in the functional medicine health space. Could she do that outside? And then we started investigating other places to live, and we landed in Colorado, which was amazing and surprising. And also there's a part of it that felt inevitable, if that makes any sense. But once we got here, it felt inevitable. And now that we've been here for 5 years, love it. We just love it here. It has everything that we want for our lives and much of what we want for our careers. Yeah.
Jeffry, what an incredible journey. Help me understand what it was like to let go of your life in New York. The music, your community, the lifestyle associated with New York. What was that like, letting go of that?
It was a little surprising. Growing up in Buffalo and becoming aware of Broadway and becoming aware of New York City, I fell in love with New York City before I even got there.
Yeah.
And then once I got there, I was like, this is my town. And I'm going to do everything I can to be successful here and to live the life of a New Yorker. I waited the 10 years that you're supposed to wait before you can really call yourself a New Yorker. I don't even know if that's true, but that's what I thought. And I thought that I was always going to live either in New York City or around New York City. You move to Westchester, or you move to Maplewood, New Jersey, or something like that.
Yes.
And I could see that was going to be my life and was really happy about that, dedicated to that idea. So when Sophie and I started talking about this idea of leaving New York City, it was really a mix. I had aged up. That's just the reality of being in the theater. The roles that you are right for become less and less, and there are people who've been in the business for years and years and who have Tony nominations and all of that are also vying roles. So there was a part of me that felt as though I had done so much of what I wanted to do in New York City. I had done 5 Broadway shows. I had been on cast recordings. I had done Thanksgiving Day Parade. I had been on the Tony Awards. There were so many things that I was incredibly grateful for, and again, blessed with along my ride in New York City. And Sophie was at a point in her career where she was just starting to build her own business. And Colorado, Denver, and Boulder specifically were such a great hub, an environment for her to build her business with like-minded individuals.
Yeah.
And so there was a part of me that said, I had my time in New York. I did so much of what I wanted to do. Are there dreams deferred? Are there things that I didn't get to accomplish? Of course, that's just life. But there was a part of me that felt like I wanted to give Sophie the best opportunity for her to succeed. When we were looking at Colorado, I knew that the Denver theater scene was very prominent and very vibrant. And I thought I might be able to find a home there. I might be able to find a theatrical home there and support her and let her kind of fly and do what she needed to do. And that's really the energy that I went to Colorado with. Once we got out of New York City, it was very interesting because I thought I was going to miss it. I thought I was going to have this constant pull back east. And a very surprising thing happened, and I didn't. And when I went back to New York for a weekend to not only close out our apartment and get all of our stuff moved, I realized how New York runs on stress. It runs on this energy that pushes and pushes. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. New York City is New York City, and it always has been New York City. It always has been this place where people came to be successful, to get their dreams going, and basically to make money. That's really what New York was founded on. And energy to that, an entrepreneurial energy that is very evident. And when you're young, you take that energy in and you digest it and you put it back out, you go. And you get older, right? And then you have a little less tolerance for that stress because you realize what stress does to your body over time and your mind and your heart.
Completely.
And so so Sophie and I went back to New York and we were amazed because we really thought, oh God, we're really going to want to go back home and blah, blah, blah. And we didn't. We saw it for what it was, which is an incredible city for my part, incredible artistry and wonderful artists and creative bloom and all of that. And at the same time, I don't want to live that way anymore. Was the real takeaway. Yeah. So
incredible experience to have stepped away from that. And go back to that. Almost like a visitor, this quick review of life. Do you think because your experience in New York checked so many of the boxes and because of your, I won't even just say age, but how full your journey was, you were able to close that chapter more easily than, say, if the pandemic had hit maybe in your late 30s or early 40s?
Oh, yeah. I think about that quite a bit, especially for people who were in their 20s who came to New York and were excited about living that life. My heart kind of went out to them because I was like, oh man, I wish you could have seen the New York that I saw when I
Yeah,
got there, and the
completely.
excitement, danger, and all of it.
Yeah.
Because I moved to New York City in 1994. That was towards the end, the 70s and 80s, and all of and how New York kind of dipped down for a second and became very
Mhm.
dangerous. So it was right at the edge of that new New York coming in, and the Disney, for all its pros and cons, Disney's effect on New York City, all of that. So
Yeah.
I was in a growing New York City when I got there, and I was very grateful about that. But I do think, to your point, that having been able to realize so many of those dreams and hopefully be present enough to appreciate them in the moment. I say hopefully because I certainly know that there were times when I didn't, when I was looking at the next
Yeah.
thing and I
Yeah.
wasn't even
Yes.
aware of grandeur of what I was doing. And I don't love that. But
Yeah.
when you're in New York, sometimes that is where, or at least I'll speak for myself, that's where my headspace
Yeah.
was that I had to be looking at the next thing. But I do think that it was easier to walk away from New York City knowing that I had accomplished so much of what I had set
Yeah.
out to do, and more in some cases, things that I never thought I was going to do, write a book,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
any of that.
Completely, Jeffrey. Truly amazing. Now, let's fast forward a little.
Yeah.
You moved to Colorado, you're at peace with leaving New York City, and you find yourself role.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Sophie and I did a little bit of a tour in the
Okay.
fall of 19 in the fall of 2020. I was going
Yeah.
to say 1920. It's going to age me. In the fall of 2020, bought a car because we didn't own a car because we
All
lived
my
in New York
friends in New
City.
York,
Yeah.
none of them own cars. I'm like, huh, what would
Yeah.
that world be like? So now
Yeah.
you have a set of wheels.
Yeah, we bought a car,
Uh,
and using Buffalo as a jumping off point because basically spent the majority of the pandemic with Sophie's parents in Florida and then my mom and my family in Buffalo.
yeah.
So, using Buffalo as a jumping off point, we drove west. We were
Okay.
both working remotely. I was teaching theater classes online. Sophie was doing her functional medicine health coaching with women online as well. And so I said, when are we ever going to get the amount of time off and the ability to
Mhm.
see the country?
Yeah.
Let's get in a car,
Yep.
let's pack up as much as we need, and
Mhm.
let's just drive and
Yeah.
let's just see the country. And so then what we did is we picked out a couple of different cities
Mhm.
where we either knew people or we maybe had a place to stay, right?
Mhm.
And that's what we did. And Denver was on the way out for 2 weeks. And then we did St. George, Utah, Scottsdale, Arizona, Sedona, Santa Fe, New Mexico, really a Southwest
Yeah.
feel. And
Uh,
then back through Denver and then home. And we did Kansas City and St. Louis.
yeah.
And we were really kind of shopping around and
Yeah.
saying, is there any other place we could live? So Denver hit us pretty prominently. And my friend Chris Starkey, who is an old friend of mine from way back in the day in New York City, who's a tap dancer, singer, actor, who had done the New York thing for a couple of years. And then he had essentially gone back to where he was from, which was Denver, to
Mhm.
start a family
Mhm.
and start his own business. He was like, the New York thing is not really for me. I want to start my own business. I want to make money.
If you are walking through a dark season, personally or professionally, your soul deserves a quiet place to land. Through hypnosis and metaphysical healing, we regulate the nervous system, resolve inner conflict, and hit the reset button energetically so you may return to a space of clarity, peace, and authenticity. Learn more about our virtual and in-person sessions or our Snohomish County, Washington support groups and meditation classes at criticalmindsetgroup.com.
Yeah. 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 Right.
And which
Imagine
he
that.
did. Yeah.
Yeah.
So he started this little production company called Starkey Productions. And then very fast forward, he turned it into, with the help of some other people and by joining with other companies, a multi-million-dollar events company called Imprint. So he sees on my Facebook that I'm taking pictures of Denver. This is in the fall of 2020.
Oh,
And he was like, "Hey, are you out here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I am. Oh my gosh, we should have lunch." So we have lunch. And he's, "Are you going to move out here?" And I'm like, "I don't know. We're still figuring it out." He's like, "Oh, okay, okay." He's like, "You're going to move out here." So then fast forward to March of 2021, Sophie and I had decided to get two Airbnbs in two different parts of the Denver metro area to try it out and see and just, okay, we'll be there for 3 months. We'll do a month and a half in one area, a month and a half in the other, and we'll just see. We'll just meet people. We were still doing what we were doing in the pandemic, so we were basically paying for our own way. And before we got to the second Airbnb, we already had a lease signed on an apartment in Denver. And Chris Starkey reached out to me and, oh no, I'm sorry. I reached out to him and I said, "Hey, I'm going to be here for a couple of months. We're just trying it out. If you ever need a performer or an MC or a director choreographer for any of your events, let me know. I'd love to do that. The extra money would be great. It'd get me into the Denver scene, etc." And he said, "How about a job?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, we furloughed a whole bunch of people during the pandemic, and now we're starting to build back up. This was April 2021. He said, "We're now starting to get some people back in. I would love to get you in on the ground level. You're going to be basically doing grunt work, but I can get you into the organization and then we can build you up. And I would love for you to build a creative powerhouse for this company." And so I said, yeah. So I applied and I went through all the rigmarole trying to get a job. They hired me. I started out exactly as he said, base level, basically events coordination, which is a kind of a very professional and nice term for you're doing all the shit work. Sorry, am I allowed to swear?
No, you are absolutely. I have a good sense of the audience being pretty open-minded and pretty hippie.
And now there are event coordinators who work for Imprint right now who are absolutely incredible, crackerjack, like incredibly talented people. When you're coming into a company at the age I was, which was 50, 51, dropping into this grunt work stuff, it's a bit of it's an ego check, right?
Oh God.
Coming from an industry where you were at the top of the game, you were performing and performing with and performing for with people who are at the top echelon of the theater industry.
Completely.
And now you're an you're an event coordinator.
Oh,
and it was a bit of a shift. And I was interested in continuing, not only because Chris had said, "Hey, we should hire this guy. He's talented. He's got a lot to offer." Whether or not that role specifically was what I was going to be best at and what I was going to offer the most to Imprint, the big question. And so the first year I bounced around a couple of different departments trying to find where my set of skills was going to benefit Imprint the most. And ultimately, after about 2 years done with it, I was like, I don't think that this is for me. I can see what I can do for this company, but I'm either not being given those responsibilities or something. And so at the time, my mentor who was there, the guy who had taught me how Imprint goes, and who also came from the theater, gave me some really good advice.
Okay.
He said, "You know what you can do for this company, right?" I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "And you're not doing it right now." I said, "No." He goes, "So this is what you need to do. You need to write out a job description that is basically you. It's everything you can do well, job description, and then you fill it.
Yeah.
And then you get to tell them, this is what I want to do. And if it's not this, then I'm going to go somewhere else. And it's totally fine. No harm, no foul, no hard feelings. But this is what I want to be for the company."
Yeah.
And he was exactly right. And I created this position, this department called creative production. I had known enough about the event world to see where I was needed, where someone with a theatrical background who has a very creative mind and who has lots of creative ideas when it comes to performance, where I could fit in and where I could really benefit the company. And I pitched that idea and they went for it. And so the creative production department was started. I was a department of one for quite a while, and now we're a department of two. But it's great, and it has made staying at Imprint meaningful and desirable because I get to basically bring theater to corporate events.
Yes.
And that is it's a really great place to be. And corporate events could use some more theater.
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
They could use storytelling.
Oh gosh.
Some pizzazz. Yes.
Oh gosh, what an incredible story. But we don't get there overnight, do we?
No.
There is, I went through a major career transition due to illness many years ago. I had to let go of my corporate role. And man, boy, and much like you, right? We burn through our resources. You kind of got to take what's available.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like a major life transition like that to trigger the ego, to trigger self-limiting beliefs, the wounded inner child. Because, wow, these people don't know you in that role. So can you shed a little light on some of those moments of feeling like that 2-year time period, what that felt like emotionally, cognitively, mentally?
Yeah.
Because those are rough years. I find that highly relatable.
Yeah, difficult. I'm not going to sugarcoat that. I did not really feel at home. The consistent paycheck was such a huge part of it, because now I was certainly making more money than I was when I was teaching online. I love teaching, and I love teaching young creative minds. And so I scaled back down to 2 students total because you can't really do the day job and teach during the day. It just wouldn't work. But it was difficult, and it was 100% connected to my sense of self, who I have a famous, or not famous, a quote that I like to do every once in a while. It's like, don't you know who I think I am? And it was part of that.
Yeah.
It was part of that, because in New York, you are a product of your environment. So when I'm in New York, I walk through New York with New York confidence. Yeah. I walk by the theaters that I've performed at. Yeah. I see friends on the street, or I see someone who saw me in a show and they stop me and they're like, "Oh my God, I loved you in White Christmas," or "I saw you in this." And that kind of, you don't want to become egotistical about it, but it does give you a sense of, oh, this is who I am. And it's something that I worked for. It's something that I actively wanted. I wanted that life. I wanted to be recognizable. I wanted people to go, I know who he is. That was something that was important to me. So to come to a company where I'm now working with a bunch of people who are in their 20s, who just fresh out of business school or fresh out of their, event professional school thing, they're just waiting to just take on the world, which I admire. And then they have zero idea, don't you know who I think I am? There's this disconnect where I'm like, wait a minute, I used to be somebody, right? So I did have to look at that and go, that was that environment. Now you're here. So you can sit here and you can be upset about it. You can sit here and mope around and long for the days who you were in New York. But if you want that, you're going to have to go back to New York. And if you want to stay here and do this, you're going to have to rebuild or not even rebuild, but you're going to have to build your reputation here and what you do here and essentially prove yourself here. And that's difficult when you're at a certain age because you get to a place where you're like, I am done proving myself.
Yeah.
I have proven myself and I know who I am and I know what I do. So that's a little bit more where I am now.
Yeah.
Is I know that I do good work. I know that I have a lot to offer. I try not to look for outside
Validation.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Hard not to because
Because your world was filled with constant validation.
Yeah.
And that becomes a fuel,
Yeah.
right?
100%.
Attaboy
And just the rounds of applause and laughter and
absolutely.
it's
Right.
but really good level set and asking yourself, okay, who really are you?
Yeah.
And that's when I saw that so much of my identity in New York was wrapped up in my career to the detriment, relationships and other opportunities, because I was so hyper focused on that, that how I appeared in New York was really important to me, probably too important to me. But it wasn't until I got to Denver and saw that I was really able to understand that and then go, do you really want that? Do you really want to be that hung up on the world's perception of you? And I didn't. I really desire to do good work and for people to just appreciate that. But more importantly, for them to say, Jeffrey's a really good person. He's a good guy and I want to be around him and I want to be friends with him. Oh yeah, he also does this other stuff to keep himself busy and to pay the rent. But that's way more important to me now. Yeah.
So what I'm wondering is how, if at all, has your perception of a successful person shifted?
Oh, yeah. It has shifted massively. Yeah. I consider a successful person, I think what I just talked about, I want to be around that person.
Yeah.
I want to spend time with them. I want to drop into deep conversation with this person. I want to trust this person.
Yeah.
I want to love this person. That is what I think is way more valuable. The group of friends that we have here in Colorado, the chosen family that we have here are some of the most real and loving and generous and honest people that I've ever had the pleasure of being in a friend circle with. And that's not to say that my friends back in New York weren't those things, but because of my shift in what's important for me, there's that kind of law of attraction, I think, where you shift your ask of what you want from yourself and you see yourself differently, and thus you're attracting different energies into your world. And I think that my mom says to Sophie and I, you gather such beautiful people around you, and that means the world. Because that is hopefully a small slice of a mirror of what we are giving back to them. And that there's a reciprocal nature to the love fest that we love out here. And there's more space. Psychologically, visually, there's just more space. And you feel more expanded out here. You feel like you are capable of more out here for some reason, which is really lovely.
And the way that you described New York, you said there's this kind of stress, the energy of stress, right? People are there to achieve things, to climb the ladder in whatever respective roles they play. How then would you describe Colorado as expansive? Are there any other words that come to mind when you tap into the energy of that place?
I think when we came out, no, I don't think. I know when we came out here, what we were blown away by the most was the generosity of spirit of the people who live here. I would say that for the most part, we were met with open arms, very little judgment about who we were, where we were coming from, what we desired. There was just this kind of open arms, like, come on out. We'd love to hang with you kind of feel. We were offered, there were so many times when we would say, oh yeah, we're kind of between living accommodations right now. We're staying with a friend and we have to get out of there in two weeks, and then we're going to go over here. And they're like, come stay with us. Guest room. We have a basement. You can come stay with us. And we're like, oh my gosh, that'd be great. What can we give you? Nothing. Come stay with us. You need a place to stay. And it was that kind of energy that just blew us away.
Yeah.
And so now we've tried to do the same. We've tried to turn that around. And when people are like, oh, I wonder if I should go out to college, we're like, get here. Stay in our guest room. Stay in our Airbnb, wherever you want. Just come on out. Pay it forward, maybe. But it just feels like it's a circle that just keeps rolling, where this person gives to you and then you give to somebody else. And it's this wonderful, generous, loving, caring place to be, not to mention the majesty of the nature that you get to experience, which I think is a huge part of it, and something that maybe is gone. Oh yeah, of course, the mountains. But it's like, no, the mountains. You see those majestic rocks.
Yeah.
And it for me, it reminds me of how big this world is and how small I am. And it's just this reminder of, don't take it so seriously.
Yeah.
Because look at how big these things are. And these mountains don't give a crap about any of this.
Yeah, completely.
So it's just a great reminder. Yes, exactly.
Perspective.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, how are you living more authentically now because of this career transition and relocation?
Yeah. Interestingly, the authenticity has come from our friend circle, because we have people in our life that are extremely authentic and ask that. They don't want you to put anything on. They just want you. They want who you are.
Yeah.
And so when that becomes a safe place to be, and you don't feel like you have to guard or hold things back, or you don't have to appear a certain way, that creates that safe space where you start to go, oh, I guess they love me for me. When I came out here, I was Jeffry Denman, Sophie's husband.
Oh,
Because everybody that we were meeting knew Sophie through the functional medicine health space, and that's how we were meeting. No one knew about my theatrical career. Nobody knew about all of that stuff. And I never led with it. And I didn't really want to. I just wanted to be Jeffry Denman.
Yeah.
And slowly but surely, people started to learn about it. And then they were like, oh my gosh, wait, you sing? You dance? And it was this discovery and this expansion. And so then they were like, we have to see you do these things. And that was lovely, because I really appreciated the fact that they accepted me and they brought me into the circle based on just me.
Yeah.
And that had not really, there was really no opportunity for that to happen in New York, because all of my friends were in the theater.
Yeah.
All of the connections I were making were in the theater. So it was already preloaded.
Yeah.
And then you've got all of these kind of expectations and preconceived notions of who you are. Oh, I saw you in a show, so now they've put you up on a pedestal. And it's like, no, I don't want to be up on a pedestal, that kind of thing. So it was a absolutely clean slate when we got here. And both Sophie and I were able to really find ourselves, because that's who they were asking us to be. They were not asking us to be anything other than who we are. And so the Jeffry Denman that I am in Colorado is very different than the Jeffry Denman I was in New York, and yet still the same. Obviously, you're not going to be a completely different person. Yeah. But I just have different, there are things that are just different as far as the importance or what I find important.
Really. As you described your friend group and their generous spirit, I think a lot about our hometown of Buffalo.
Yeah.
I remember bringing my son there for the first time, and he said, "Wow," he goes, "it's like a city that isn't a city." Oh, which I thought was really cute. And he said, "Everybody's so friendly and they're
Yeah.
dressed so neatly, and everybody just." Some waitress just was hanging out, didn't know us from Adam, and just started engaging in conversation, which
Yeah.
is something you rarely see out here in the greater Seattle area.
Mm.
Do you notice any crossover or common traits between people in Colorado and maybe the area we grew up in?
Yeah, I think people will ask me where I'm from. Either
Yeah.
they'll find out that I lived in New York for 27 years, and they'll say, are you from New York City? I said, no, I actually grew up in Buffalo. And they're like, oh, Buffalo. So basically New York City. And I'm like,
Right?
no,
No.
it could not be
Yes.
more different
Yeah.
than New York City. Our lovely hometown of Buffalo is
Yeah.
way more Midwest. It is
Completely.
so much more in common with Chicago,
Yeah.
St. Louis,
Yeah.
Kansas City than it does
Completely.
New York City.
Yes.
Being from Buffalo, I think
Yeah.
that
Me
Buffalo
too.
is a wonderful place to grow up.
Yeah.
We were allowed to be kids. We were
Yes.
allowed to be curious and investigate, and at whatever 8 years old, ride our bikes all the way to Showbiz Pizza Place, which I
Completely.
think about that now and I'm like, I cannot believe our parents allowed us to do that.
Yeah.
And they did. They were like, yeah, just be careful and don't get hit by a car. See ya.
Yeah.
And it created this kind of, I think, this strength of independence in us
Yes. Oh,
that
without it.
is incredibly valuable as you go forward in life.
Yeah.
That you don't really think about, that's weird. No, you don't. You're like, yeah, we'll
Yeah.
just ride our bike and we'll do the thing.
Completely.
But I do see the generosity out here. I don't know that Colorado is going to be where I spend all of the rest of my days, but in terms of a bookend of my formative years in Buffalo and then going to New York and then coming to Longmont, which is outside of Boulder, about 50 minutes north of Denver, there is a nice, like, I'm back to my roots.
Yeah.
And I was just
Yeah.
saying this to somebody today. You coming out to Colorado, I did have to peel off the layers of defensiveness and paranoia, not completely successfully, and cynicism of New York City that you need to survive in New York City. It's like,
Completely.
it's a survival technique, all of those things, or tools, I should say. You don't necessarily need that out here.
Yeah.
They don't want that. And they're going to be like, why are you so stressed? Like,
Yeah.
what's the deal? Like my coworker, Seth Chikowski, who I absolutely love. He grew up in Colorado. He lives in Ohio now with his wife, Beth. He works at Imprint creative production team. Incredibly creative guy. One of the funniest guys I've ever met and one of my dearest friends. And for the first couple of years when we were working together, I'd be getting all riled up about some event or something or a client or whatever. And he's like, dude, why are you getting so upset about this? This doesn't matter. And I'm like, oh God, you're right. It really doesn't matter. It's gonna get done. We're gonna finish it. It's gonna be accomplished. Why am I? This is not that deep. And my own system is going to thank me for not being stressed out. And having a heart attack at 56.
I know. You're learning a new way. That place has rewired you.
Yeah.
In the most beautiful way. And you and I could talk, I think, for hours on the creative juices that flow in Buffalo. Oh, I just look back affectionately on my childhood too. Part of it was the era, right?
Yeah.
Before all the electronics.
Yep.
The other part was what my son said. It's a city that's not a city. We lived in a suburb, but it was safe. And you could literally ride your bike from one side to the other in a matter of under 20 minutes.
Yep.
I do feel like because of those advantages, I'd be hard pressed to think of a close friend I grew up with that didn't play an instrument or wasn't musical
Yeah.
or wasn't insanely creative, then I say Buffalo is home of the garage bands.
Oh my God.
That just
Oh my
pretty much
gosh.
encaps from age maybe 14 to maybe 23. So
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of magic to that
Yeah.
town and that era and the way I also call it middle America. We had middle class values. Dinner was at 5:30. Everybody had chores.
Yep.
We all worked in some capacity. Hardly, very few of my friends were born with a silver spoon in their mouth, but
Yeah.
we were extra lucky if our parents were closet hippies celebrated, which I
Totally.
think mine were in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
I just feel like growing up in that free and safe of an environment where everybody pretty much was middle class gave us a level of freedom that I
Yeah.
think other pockets of the country or communities have, where kids
Yeah.
are thrust into an adult world too early. You hit the nail on the head. We got to be kids
Yeah.
and be imaginative and play and all those things. And
Yeah.
speaking of which, that's a great lead in to what I want to ask you to share next. And that's tell us about your theater world, because I know you've got a
Yeah.
lot brewing. Give
Yeah.
us some highlights.
I'm coming into the Colorado theater community. There are many theater communities around the country. Obviously, New York is its own thing. Chicago, vibrant theater community. Buffalo has a great theater community. DC has a great, St. Louis, Kansas City. They all have their theater environment. And Denver is the same. Denver has wonderful, there's such a wide range of theaters here in the Front Range. And it was very much a desire of mine to get into the theater community here because I admired it so much. I had friends who are still in the theater community here, and everybody does really good work. And that's very exciting. That's exciting to be a part of. And so between the job at Imprint it was a little difficult, especially in the first couple of years when I was still trying to find my footing of being able to juggle both. And so I really took a step back, and opportunities that I had were actually outside of Denver. They were theaters, regional theaters that I had worked at before, Playhouse up in Maine, Musical Theater West in Long Beach, to mention a couple. And so I kept those irons in the fire. I kept working with them once a year. And then there was a production here at the Arvada Center of Damn Yankees. And they lost their choreographer. And the music director was a friend of mine, called me up and he said, "Hey, we need a choreographer in 3 weeks. We start rehearsals immediately and need a choreographer." And so, yeah, I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. And I love Damn Yankees. It's a great show. And I had done a previous production of it before, so I knew what I wanted to do with it. And did that. And I met a director here. Her name is Kelly Van Osprey. She's prolific on the Front Range. She directs all over the place. And so I got to choreograph with her directing. And that led to this past November. She was directing a production of Mary Poppins down at the Colorado Fine Arts Center in Colorado Springs. And she said, "Would you come and choreograph Mary Poppins?" And Poppins has been on my list of shows that I've wanted to choreograph for a very long time. And I said, so went down to Colorado Springs, choreographed Mary Poppins, and that really, I love that theater, and I love the administration that's there. They're being led by Chris Shealy, the artistic director, who is just a really wonderful man and is really doing everything he can to make the Fine Arts Center down there a hub of really great theater and great community service, like theater for young audiences and educational systems, and really trying to become a cultural center of Colorado Springs. And after Poppins, he and I met, and I basically said to him, I said, "I don't care what it is. I don't care if you want me washing dishes in the back of the catering area. I want to work with you because I believe in what you're doing here. I believe in your staff. Your staff is incredibly generous and caring and creatively collaborative and open to new ideas. I said, please, whatever it is, I would love to work with you.
Yeah.
And he said, that's funny because we're going to be doing White Christmas in December. And White Christmas is that was the last show that I did on Broadway. I played the Danny Kaye role that I originated in the world premiere and subsequent productions. And I've never been able to. I've been offered, but it hasn't ever worked out. But it's the first time I'm going to be able to be on the other side of the table for White Christmas, a show that I dearly love and hold so dear. And so I'm really excited about doing that. That is really fun. I'm so curious as to how it's going to come out.
Yeah.
Because I've got some ideas, but I also like to leave it a little bit free so that I can find it in the moment. And then funny enough, right after that, I'm going to go do another production of Poppins at a Gunkwit Playhouse in Maine. So I get to return to that show, which I love. And so that's going to be this year, which I'm really excited about because it's theater is my home. Theater is where my heart is. It's where I feel like I can do the most good for the world, whatever that means. Try to make people happy is essentially what I want to try to do.
I know, and it's so interesting how your whole theater career transitioned, and you're peeling away the energy of stress of New York City and entering in, right? I like to call it frequency match.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, a frequency match, it seems to me, right? I have a theory, Jeffrey, and that's when we are living in alignment with who we are authentically as a soul. Like you said before, it follows the rules of the law of attraction.
Yeah.
And things just organically begin to happen. Yeah. Has it occurred to you that the universe is supporting this transition?
When we came out here to Colorado, I was introduced, a dear friend of mine from high school happened to be living out here. He's not on Facebook. He's not on Instagram. He just is not on any of the socials.
Yeah.
And his sister is on Facebook and she messaged me and Tom lives in Denver. And this was the second week that we were here. And she's like, you got to look him up. Here's his number. Give him a ring, blah, blah, blah. So we got reunited. And he took me to one of his favorite taco places for margaritas and tacos. And it was just mind blowing. We had not seen each other in decades. And we picked right back where we left off, but also now with maturity and experience and, you know, marriages and for him, kids and all of these things. So it was really wonderful. But the seed of our friendship was still very much there.
Yeah.
And he introduced me to a word that I had never heard before that I love. And it is what I hang up all the time and tell people about. And you may have heard of it. It's called pronoia. And paranoia is the idea that the universe is conspiring against you. Pronoia is the idea that the universe is conspiring for you.
Oh, nice.
And all you have to do is just follow.
Yeah.
You don't have to work really hard. You gotta put in the time and you gotta do the thing.
You have to show up.
But the less you resist it, the idea that even sometimes when you don't get what you think you want, the universe is still conspiring for you.
Yeah.
And it is either opening up to a new opportunity that is going to come later, or you are dodging a bullet or whatever.
Agreed.
And so that is really where both Sophie and I try to live every day, that we may not have the greatest day in the world. We may have frustrations with clients. We may have frustrations at work. We may put ourselves out there and get shot down, whatever it is, creatively, collaboratively. But trying to remember always that it's okay because the universe has your back. Yeah. It's going to conspire for you. Yeah. You just have to be patient and you just have to not be demanding.
Yes.
Just let it unfold, let it roll. Yep. And just as you said, show up, as yourself, honestly, truthfully, and try to deal with the people around you as honestly and truthfully as you can. I've certainly had my dark times. I've certainly had the mistakes that I've made in my past, hurting people, all of that stuff. And the only thing that you can really do is say, okay, it's Tuesday at 8:04 p.m. Mountain Time. I'm going to try to be as good as I can be right now.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to be as honest as I can be right now and show up for my wife, show up for my friends, show up for my coworkers.
Yep.
Am I going to get frustrated? Sure. But if I have that in the back of my mind that this is all trending towards good,
Yes.
that's the hope.
Yeah.
And I do also realize that can be perceived as a very privileged place to be viewing the world. There are people who are struggling and who may hear that pronoia is not something that they can connect to. And so I certainly don't mean to be insensitive to that.
Sure.
But I do think that there is find your own truth and try to live there.
Yeah.
That is, I believe, what is being asked of us.
Yeah. You just, in my mind, described the mark of a successful person.
Oh,
Really,
I hope
truly,
so.
to enjoy the journey. And like you said, maybe not take things so seriously, that we're all on different journeys, but experiencing the same turbulence
Yeah.
and triggers. Now that you've had this remarkable experience of not just career transition, but lifestyle transition, relocation. And by the way, I love the way that you did that. I love that you gave both you and Sophie gave yourself the time and the space to wander. Because like you said, when do we ever get to do that?
Yeah.
You just seized the moment so beautifully and you leaned into what felt right to both of you. And it's amazing as a married couple that you both agreed on your place in a line, because I'm dealing with so many people in relationship crisis. So kudos to you both. That speaks to the deep soul connection the two of you have.
Yeah.
But if you could give advice to other people who, for whatever reason or circumstance, are having to leave their career calling or their occupation of choice, again, for any reason, and had to start all over again, what advice would you give someone?
I hope it doesn't sound insensitive because I don't know the situations of any of those people. And I realize that it can probably be very difficult, but I kind of want to say, jump in.
Yeah.
Jump in. You've got it. It's going to be okay. There may be bumps. There may be moments of insecurity. There may be moments of true, deep dissatisfaction and more. There may be moments when you're faced with, who am I? Or who was I? And who am I going to be? But I do think that there are so many, if you're moving to a new place, so many wonderful places to live. So many incredible communities of people that you can become a part of, who will support and love you and want the best for you. And there are so many more opportunities that I think, let me put it this way. I think we are all, every single person, way more powerful and capable than we give ourselves credit for.
Yes, agreed.
I definitely thought that of myself. And I was surprised to learn how much more I could do and how much more I could learn and how much more could actually bring me satisfaction. Where I thought theater was the only way I was going to be able to gain satisfaction. But there are so many other avenues. There's so many other things that you can do, create, be. The world can be your oyster. But it does require you to hold a mirror up and go, okay, what is it that I want? And who is it that I want to be?
Yeah.
That's not always going to be the easiest road in the beginning, but it does lead to, it's a perfect Colorado hiking metaphor. You get on a trail and it's like, oh, this is so boring, or God, it's really hot and there's no trees and it's really uncomfortable, and I hate the fact that it's going up so steep and I'm out of shape and we're at altitude and all of these things that go through your mind in the beginning of a trail. And then you come out to this vista and you're like, oh man, this is what it was for. Or you get to dive lake.
Yeah.
And in the middle of all of the Continental Divide, and you're watching moose on the other side of the lake, and it just surrounded by beauty.
Yeah.
So the trail might be difficult in the beginning, but it's not going to be, and it's going to lead to really beautiful, amazing, expansive views and opportunities. And yeah, I think that would be my, don't be scared is what I should have said.
That's
period.
right. Find some adventure. Go for it. I love that. That's so beautiful. And last question I'll ask, I think it's a really powerful question, especially again, looking at the before and after Jeffry Denman. What do you consider your non-negotiables?
Ooh, proximity to my wife. That is, I may go off and put up a show somewhere. In the past, I would have gone and been away for weeks on end without my partner at the time or whatever, girlfriend, without a lot of concern about that, because I was more focused on my career. I was like, no, I got to go out there. I got to do the thing. I'm going to be away for 9 weeks. Sorry, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Now that's not what we do. And we will have to spend a week away from each other. Okay, maybe. But we will do anything and everything to make that time span be much less. That's one.
Okay.
Let me see if I can put it into words, because it's not fully formed yet. It's like cake batter right now, but it's the idea of creative collaboration, where I think in the past, because of a certain sense of imposter syndrome, that I wasn't always the best advocate for my ideas. I could present an idea that I thought was really good, but it could very easily be knocked over by someone who I determined, for whatever reason, to be more qualified than me or more creative than me or whatever.
Okay. Yeah.
So now I just feel like I have a stronger sense. No, this is a good idea. And we're gonna develop this idea first. Yeah. And yes, I'm open to other supporting ideas to this concept, but I'm not going to just trash the concept just because you particularly don't like it.
Yeah.
I believe in this concept. Let's play this out, and then let's learn that it's the wrong concept.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a little bit of. My wife is into this personality trait thing. I can't remember the name of it. If she listens to this, she's gonna be like, "I've told you this."
An inventory assessment.
Yeah, basically, one of the tenets is that there are 3 parts to your life. There's you're in your 20s, and you barely know anything, and you're just flailing around trying to figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah,
and then you move into this like mid 30s, 40s, where you're now someone that people are listening to. You've gained experience, you've learned things. And then when you get into your 50s, you move into the kind of the wisdom area of your life, and you become like the sage, where people are coming to you for advice, and I really feel like I'm in that part of my life in a lot of ways. Our friends, it blew our minds when our friends, some of them who were having some relationship trouble, were coming to Sophie and I for relationship advice. And I looked at Sophie, I'm like, do they know who they're asking about relationship advice? Because Sophie and I we've been through a lot. We have had to fight for our relationship. It was not always a foregone conclusion. It was not some sort of princessy princess or prince and princess
Yeah.
happily ever after.
Yeah.
We had to really work at it.
Yeah.
And I think what we're being reflected with is people see that. They're
Yeah.
like, oh, they've done the work. They had to blow up their relationship and then put it back together.
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe then rather than rolling our eyes at this idea, maybe we need to lean into this. Maybe we need to step into this area, offer them advice. We may not be right for them. Advice might not be right for them, but we can at least offer our experience.
Yeah.
And so we've taken that on to a certain extent, and I'm at least open to it. And I don't think of myself as being the worst person to ask relationship advice for.
I liken this season in our 50s, Jeffrey. I call it the stage of generativity, where
Ooh,
we're wanting to give back.
yeah,
Is such a wonderful a soft space to land.
yeah,
The space that allows our paternal or maternal energies to come forth. We can be more vulnerable and emotionally accessible because, boy, we've walked through the eye of so many storms by this juncture of our life. And in a sense, there really isn't anything to prove. And we can laugh at our humanness.
yeah,
And because of that lightness, it's an invitation for people around us to live out loud and be vocal about, just be comfortable in their own skin. Reminds me of you and I had an earlier conversation, and I said, Jeffrey, did you have a mentor in New York? Somebody who really took you under their wings and scooped you up? And you said, no, sadly, no, right? But when you think about it, the whole philosophy behind what I built in my business, and it sounds so much like we connect deeply on this, is I want to bring forth an experience for others, the same experience I would have wanted in my darkest hour. And for you, you have such an incredible heart and generous spirit. It feels like you want to take everything that you've learned and make it maybe not such a steep and harsh learning curve for those you are mentoring. And again, what a beautiful space to be in. I think it's an age thing, it's a part of our journey thing. I think we earned that too, because we lived in the stress of the corporate reality, or in your case, the performance arena all the time. And now it feels good to kind of be able to breathe a little bit deeper and not have everything be urgent and life or death, or will I get this part or not? You can kind of let go of that and really truly enjoy the creative part of that without stress energy. So it's amazing.
100%.
Well, Jeffrey, if people wanted to find you online, like your bio, your shows, how do they do that?
My website is jeffrydenman.com. It is undergoing a little bit of construction most recently. Definitely on Instagram, just my name.
I love you and heart you.
Oh, yeah. My morning reminders, hopeful way of adding a little bit of something good into social media rather than
love it.
something even more horrible than what's already out there. But I do post, and I do post about shows, and sometimes I post about work. I try to keep it as light as I can on socials, just because it is such a place for a lot of chaos and just
for sure. I know it is. It's a lot. We'll just say. And so, Jeffrey, if it's okay with you, I'll drop some links in the show notes, and then if you'll do me a favor, and I'll try to remember, as shows come up, please send me links that I can also drop into the show notes, even if it's a little bit later on, because People find these podcasts and listen to them sometimes way after the fact, and it would just
great.
be really cool to stay current. And I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I know your life's going to get really busy, but Jeffrey, I would absolutely love to have you on again before each of your shows so we can talk a little bit about the healing properties of creativity and what you're learning about yourself through directing, and share with us a little bit more about the synopsis of the show and the creative talent. And again, by then I can drop the link in there so people can get tickets, or my big goal is to fly out and see one of your shows. And then
oh my God, I would love that.
Future, it'd be so great. I have such fond memories of you in our respective childhood years. Of everybody was like, "Oh, Jeffrey dance, he can sing, he can act, and he's so sweet. He's so nice."
That's so nice to hear.
That was like the reputation I grew up with around you, and just highly respected and revered for your gifts, but also because you were just always such a good soul. Laugh, great sense of humor. You brought a lot of joy and energy to the shows, and just like your core values and moral compass, everything was just so dialed in from such a young age. So
thank you. I really appreciate that. All kudos to my parents.
Oh my goodness,
for
beautiful.
Bringing me up with those ideals, and also for, like we said before, letting me be a kid first and foremost, and lock into that joy. I think joy is what if we want to talk about non-negotiables, that is one of my non-negotiables, that I'm not going to give up joy. I'm going to try to find it everywhere I can, because life is too short.
So beautifully articulated. Jeffry Denman, thank you so much for sharing your journey about career changes after 50. And boy, that was such an uplifting conversation with an amazing amount of insights.
You ask great questions.
Oh,
so
thank you. Well, you're great. You have a fascinating life, Jeffrey. So a pleasure, and it's been very easy conversation. So thank you so much.